I should have mentioned at the beginning, we are starting a new practice at the open mic to kind of help with staying on time, keeping, you know, track of everyone's time. We have a very informal 5 to 7 minute time limit, which we do not enforce whatsoever, but sometimes we have a great big group, and when we don't do that, not everybody gets to go, or people are kind of hustling towards the end. So what we thought we would try out is when you're at about the 5-minute mark, I'll give you a little wave so you know that maybe as you are approaching the 7 minutes, to just wrap it up. And we can be real loose with this since we're kind of a smaller group, but we did want to try it out to see how it worked. So FYI, y'all did great, like didn't even get close. And also, if you would like to sign up, I've got the sign up sheet, so come and do that. And now we have Thom.
Very much. Today is an extremely special day in Austin. Absolutely special and unique. If you look at your daily newspaper, it has a whole page on "Are you happy?" That's not the reason. The second reason is this is the day that all over Austin people are doing benefits for Australia. It's Australia Austin Day. And it's very rare that a whole city actually engages its consciousness to care for another. And Austin is sister city to Adelaide, but I won't mention anything about Adelaide. But you know, it's a wonderful thing that people are thinking of someone else. So I thought I would give you some reasons as to why this is an important thing. Okay, at the moment there are 300 bushfires. Both of my sisters are under evacuation orders. There is a thing called a fire nardo, which an artificial weather system which makes extreme bushfire make rain in another area. So as well as a bushfire and the smoke inhalation, which makes the air unbreathable, you also have flash floods. So my one sister's in the bush, the other is in the city, and in the bush she's preparing evacuation. She's got all the things necessary just in case either the flash floods or the fires get too close. Now, when the disaster of white occupation, by the way, it's the second day of Black History Month, which is we have Black History Month in Australia too, but it's to do with the indigenous people and now the blackened koalas and blackened kangaroos. But they had 300 languages. There were almost that many tribes, but tribes shared languages in different dialects, like the Ananda tribe, which has custody of Uluru, speaks Pitjantjatjara. So Pitjantjatjara is a language that used to be based just around Uluru, but now has a language family that extends into Western Australia through the Northern Territory. I say that because you may be familiar with the idea of song lines, the idea that if you learn the songs, like the Eskimos, you sing your way through the desert, like water. And I was at Uluru once when it hadn't rained for 10 years. And just by chance, a rain cloud came up, and the colour of the rock changed from red to orange to grey to black. And then waterfalls started coming over the top of the rock. The rock is only 10% above ground. It's the largest monolith on this planet, but 90% is under the ground. So this turned black from red, and then I started counting 1, 2, 3, 13 waterfalls crashing down. And then I realized what the primary myth of the country was. Because the water splashed down to billabongs. And the primary myth of my country is the rainbow serpent. And the rainbow serpent is water. You know, water is so crucial. Like here you've had Bastrop fires, which were devastating. California had devastating fires. And Siberia had terrifying fires. And Amazonia had terrifying fires. But the Australian ones are like just monsters in comparison, because of the fact that they're out of control and they are affecting the capital. They're starting to evacuate the capital of Australia, which you may know better about, Canberra. People have said, well, will we have the capital of Australia in Sydney or Melbourne? And people argued, as they always do. So they compromised. They made a place like Brasilia, a planned city called Canberra, between the two. And it's a horrific place, you know, it's so planned, you don't want to live there, so everyone moves to Queanbeyan. The other thing about the languages, there were so many languages that because the white occupation happened so fast, a lot of the languages are still not intact, but in the landscape itself, like Queanbeyan, Woolloomooloo, Uluru, and the language is a song. And if you hear people speak their dialects, Indigenous people, it is like a word song. You know, it's a beautiful thing. You now know 1 billion fauna have now been vaporized, and they're not coming back. And you also know that the Red Cross doesn't give all the money to the environment, that they keep a lot for their administration, so don't put any money there. But all around Austin today, a lot of people are doing benefits to try and restore the landscape, because Indigenous people used to have controlled fires as a way of chasing out the creatures to eat, and also to control the area, the brush, so that there wouldn't be major fires. We are in a state of emergency at the moment, which has never happened before. For several days, over the whole of the continent of Australia, which is the same size as your continent, there was no rain. Can you imagine if the whole of America had no rain for at least a day? So that happened for several days. And the fires are still burning now. And they're coming close to places like the Blue Mountains, which are a sacred site outside Sydney, where Lawson, Blackson, and Wentworth explored to get the cattle out into places they could graze. But it's also a place where artists, sculptors, poets lived. Norman Lindsay, you may not know about, but they made a film called Sirens about Norman Lindsay. He was a sculptor, and his studio was there. That's all burnt, all right? The rainforest, all burnt. Now, there are 4 types of rainforests in Australia: temperate rainforest, tropical rainforest, semi-tropical rainforest, and other ones. And to have the rainforest go, it's sort of like worse than the Amazon, because they're a unique habitat for so many creatures. So I'll do one to share with you about, I've been pilgrimage to Uluru 3 times, and every time something magical has happened. At Uluru there are caves you can go into, which we're allowed to. We are called Gubba. They call themselves either Kuri in the north or Murray in the south, which Gubba basically is like the Maori term Pakeha, which means not spiritually aware. So they are attuned to the land as a song and as a way of being. So once at Uluru, known by you as Ayers Rock, I was taken to a sacred watering hole. Frogs lived there, blackened thousands. You could not drink from the waters were sacred. Now the day was hot, and those of us who could not drink became angry at this usurpation of our dominion, for were we not the crown of all creation? Now as I turn on my metal tap in Austin, I think again of that small watering hole, so small for so many frogs to live in. The universe in a frog's eye, the universe in a toothbrush bristle. I, like the black frog, seek sacred waters to drink from, to dream in, to drink from, to dream in, to drink from, to dream in, to dream.